Alright, so this is the tutorial for wrapping text around an image. This is a bit of a twofer because it will require a little bit of Photoshop to get an image in which text can wrap around, but I'll show you how to do that as well. You can also do it on InDesign, although I think Photoshop seems to work a lot better. The first thing you're going to need is a person or something in which you want text to wrap around. So what I did is I did a Google search for person white background, and then I decided I wanted to filter that for photos that have been labeled for reuse. I also wanted something that was large, and I found this stock photo right here, kind of Apple-esque. So I've pulled that one into Photoshop. And so now, the reason that I like images that are white background is because they're really easy to cut out. Of course, any color background will do, although as long as we have a high contrast. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unlock this background layer, grab my magic wand tool, get rid of that right there, and then I'm going to grab my magic wand tool to grab everything else. And then go ahead and do an inverse selection. So I've only got my guy with the phone here selected, and then I'm going to do refine edge. And then you want to change your view mode because it is a white background. On white wouldn't be very helpful. But you see when I pull up this kind of salmon color, I can start to see how it's a little bit harsh around the edges here. So I can kind of start to play with kind of fixing a little bit of that. We don't have to be perfect on this because we're going to put it back on a white background, but that gives you a sense. And a little bit better, I could probably be a little bit better with the hair or pulling it out. But again, it's not super necessary for this specific project. Alright, so now I'm going to inverse again, delete that, and so now we've got our cutout guy. Going to go ahead and save that. And silhouette, that'll work. And then hop over into InDesign. Because I'm thinking of this again like this layout. This is sort of like a 8.5, 11 page if it was flipped 90 degrees. So I'm going to do the same thing over here and say I want a new document. Instead of the orientation being up and down, I want it to be left and right. And then I'll open this up. Now I'm going to grab my image placement tool. And grab my man silhouette PSD. It looks really big right now, so I'm going to go ahead and go to fit content proportionally. Then if you notice that it's a little bit grainy, you might want to come up to your display performance and change it to high quality. Because he is cut off down here, I'm going to move him down here below the bleed, just so we have that same space. Alright, so now we're going to start to wrap text around him. The easiest way to do that is to grab and draw out your text box. Make sure you're staying in the bleeds for your text. What I went ahead and did is, this isn't Steve Jobs. I figured I would grab some of Steve Jobs talking. From a commencement speech. Go ahead and paste that in there. And now we're going to start to wrap this around our guy. And the way that you do that is you go to Window, Text Wrap, pull this up, and then we say we want to kind of wrap around all of him. And so you notice now it starts to wrap around the image itself, which is good, but we actually want it to wrap around the transparency, what they call the alpha channel. And so now you'll see it's starting to wrap around his head, and I can make this a little bit bigger and kind of boost this up, and you'll see that border start being wrapped around him. And now, as I move this text box around, the text conforms to the shape. Now what we can start to do is we can start to play with like size and filling out the space a little bit more. And then what you want to make sure when you're doing text wrap is you don't leave widows like this. This is called widow text, words that are just by themselves. So I can decide to move it around and play with that, or maybe move his head around. Make sure this is in the bleed. And then I can hit my W button to move back and forth between my print view and my preview view. was really spending time, maybe I would do something like change the font to something a little bit more Apple-y, which they use a lot of sans serif fonts. I might go in and also turn off the hyphenate. You can go into your paragraph and uncheck hyphenate, so words aren't being hyphenated at the end of sentences here. This isn't a book, so we don't have to worry too much about that. And maybe the last thing I would do would be to maybe pull this color down a little bit again, just trying to really stick with the Apple aesthetic, which a lot of times is kind of a dark gray. Now we're going to export this. Export as a PDF if you were going to print this out. Apple Wrap. Now if we're going to post this to our blog, we're going to export, and I'm doing that a little bit fast, I might just slow down a bit, you can go to File Export, or you can see it's Command E, and so I'm just using that shortcut Command E to pull up this dialog box and go to JPEG. Make sure it's on 300 for your print. Go ahead and export that, and that's what you can upload to your blog.